Hey everyone, Dan Candell here. I want to say thank you again for keeping up with my blogs. I get so many messages from people asking me about high performance, about achieving their goals, and really how to raise their own personal bar. So you don't have to be an athlete to know this. You don't have to be a business owner or an entrepreneur or a salesperson to know this. You can ramp up the bar in your own personal and professional life. And I'm going to share with you 4 ways today that you can raise your own expectations of yourself. You might be asking, why do I want to raise expectations of myself? Well, simply because it's going to raise the bar for you. It's going to hold you accountable, and it's going to prevent you from being stagnant, really. And that's what we want to do whenever we're moving through life. Have you ever gotten too comfortable with something? I know I have. And when I get too comfortable, I really need to push myself, as do we all, to become even more successful, to set more challenging goals for ourselves, to hold ourselves accountable. So here's 4 ways that you can really raise your own expectations without pushing yourself too over the edge. So number 1 is do difficult things. Now, I know this might sound a little funny, but do difficult things, or instead of difficult, do challenging things. Really challenge yourself to push the bar and to push your limits. Have you ever gone into situations before where you just sort of go on autopilot? Happens to me sometimes, and I really have to challenge myself to make sure that I'm constantly updating techniques that I use, putting myself in new situations so that I'm not just floating through life. Number 2, expand your comfort zone. Expanding your comfort zone is one way to challenge yourself even more. And in fact, have you ever felt like you're just kind of floating through life sometimes? Well, it's simply because you're too comfortable in situations. Really expanding your comfort zone is one way to grow, personally and professionally. Number 3, challenge yourself. You see, I've kind of touched upon this already in numbers 1 and number 2. And now number 3 is actually challenge yourself. You can see how these are kind of melting together. When you do this, you raise your own personal bar. And you can really challenge yourself by putting yourself in situations that may have seemed a little uncomfortable. On my podcast that I do with my podcast partner, the podcast is called Square Peg Round Hole. If you want to listen to it, there's a place on this page where you can click and go to that, little plug. But Square Peg Round Hole. We were talking to somebody who had anxiety of going into new social situations because he was an extreme introvert. And one way that he challenged himself every single week was to plan times where he would go into groups of more than 10 people. That really forced him to focus on breaking out of that comfort zone and by becoming less introverted so he comes out of his shell a little bit more. So coming out of your own shell, that's one way to really expand your comfort zone. It's one way to raise your own expectations. So we have these 3 things, and number 4 is learn new things. It doesn't have to be a trade. You don't have to go and learn how to be an auto mechanic. You don't have to go back to school and necessarily get a master's degree or doctorate in something. But learning new things, whether it be a hobby or even new ways to do things that you already do. For example, I'm a hypnotist, and there are several different techniques and ways to help a person stop smoking. There's hundreds of ways to help a person stop smoking. There's hundreds of ways to help a person overcome anxiety. There's hundreds of ways to help a person lose weight. As a hypnotist, it's important to know several of these different modalities because your clientele varies. It's the same thing with you. Think about hobbies that you have, or even what you do for a job, or what you plan to do. And think of ways that you can expand your knowledge base around that to make it even more interesting for yourself. Now, people ask all the time, why should I raise my expectations of myself? When you do this, when you do these 4 things, do difficult things that push your limits, expand your comfort zone, challenge yourself and learn new things, when you do these 4 tasks, it really can help raise your self-esteem. It gives you a greater sense of purpose. It raises your confidence, and it really raises your personal bar, mentally, personally, professionally, emotionally, and psychologically. So make sure you go out and you challenge yourself today. Do one thing each day that pushes your comfort zone. Do one thing each week that forces you to learn something new. And over the course of time, you'll notice yourself raising your own expectations, becoming even more successful. So my name's Dan Candell. I hope that this blog helped you make success happen in your life. If you want to join my Success Happens movement, there's a button that you can click that should be below this video or on this page that can help you find out more information about my Success Happens movement to really continue raising your expectations and to help positively program your mind to get the life that you want and the life that you deserve. So my name's Dan Candell. Always remember, be well, do good, and be true to who you are.